Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Dr. Nasser. Welcome to another episode of The Theory of Biology. Today's topic, something very special to all human beings. It is the topic of consciousness. And of course, intelligence. These two traits that we have separates us completely in a giant scale between us and the next species on Earth. We have been given this gift because it allows us to experience this wonderful and beautiful life that we have and that we see. Sometimes it's so beautifully diverse and sometimes it's not so. But today's topic about consciousness is we're going to talk about how it relates to the theory of biology and why it is actually part of the evolutionary process, because nobody has actually asked the question, why do we have this exceptionally high level of consciousness to be able to be aware of self, to be able of time, the past, the present, and the future, and to also be able to think and innovate and just be aware totally of our existence. So I'm going to start by looking at the different types of consciousness across all of the living world. Now, we are part of the animal kingdom, but we sit at the very, very high level, and we have the highest level of consciousness and intelligence. But here's the thing that really is surprising. Although we have all this high level of consciousness and intelligence, we are only able to control 5% of our physiology, our development, our survival, our internal systems that are continuously keeping us alive. You see, we have about 30 to 50 trillion cells in our body, and each one is working exceptionally hard to keep us alive. But there's the thing. We're not conscious of that in a level where we are able to control it. This is very interesting. So although our brain is there to help us have experiences of the outside world, negotiate the outside world, but it's not able to control our physiology. And that is something that I wanted to talk to you about. You see, the systems within our bodies are completely automatic. Automatic, okay. So if they're all automatic, what entity is actually keeping us alive? There's another problem as well. Another profound question that the theory of biology actually wants to delve in and ask. But why does it want to keep us alive? And is the cerebral consciousness and the subconscious, are they two separate entities? Very interesting questions. Now, I want to talk to you about now the amount of consciousness other animals have and other species have compared to us. And then ask the question, well, is consciousness, and I'm talking about this cerebral consciousness that we are gifted with, is it really a prerequisite to life? Is it really important to life? And you will be surprised at the answer. Now, let's go down past the animal kingdom to organisms that don't have a brain. Let's talk about them. These are the plants, these are the protista, these microbial life like the amoeba, these are the algae and the bacteria, and fungus, of course. Now, think about this. These organisms and species, they don't have a brain, but they're still alive. In fact, they are doing exceptionally well, and they were the first species to arrive way before the human species arrived. So they survived and they did pretty well, and they evolved without the need of a brain, without the need of cerebral consciousness. Therefore, consciousness, cerebral consciousness in the way that we have it, is not a prerequisite to life. Now, if that's the case, does that mean that the mechanism that's keeping us alive operates within them, and it's keeping them alive. What is it, and why is it keeping them alive? That is amazing, amazing way to look at biology. And that is exactly how I've approached and also came up with the theory of biology. Here's the answer. Ultimately, the DNA is in control of every aspect of physiology. Everything. The cell is basically a product. Its physiology, its morphology, its structure, its function, its cell division, everything that it does and what it is coded for by the DNA. And if you were to remove the DNA from any cell, doesn't matter what kind of cell, whether it's prokaryotic, whether it's eukaryotic, well, the cell will normally die. The organism will usually perish. So it seems to me that the molecule of life is actually the DNA. But what's in it for the DNA? What is the benefit to the DNA by keeping the host alive? You're going to see this in a different way. I'm going to show you the importance and the relationship between this amazing molecule called the DNA, and you will see the DNA in a different way. And of course, its host. See, when the DNA was first conceived, a long time ago, some 4 billion years ago on Earth, it required a host, and it had to build its own first cell. There were no cells around. And that is exactly how the first formation of the first cell happened, and the DNA and its host. You see, the way to understand this is, let's refer to the viruses. Viruses cannot survive outside a living cell. They're just simply a piece of genetic material enclosed within a protein coat. But they are completely useless, harmless to anyone, if they're just floating about in the air, if they're on surfaces, or if they might be in water, in the sea, etc. It's only the minute they enter a living cell, a host, that they take over the cell's mechanism for replication to make more of themselves, and then, of course, damage the cell. And that is what causes viral diseases. But the DNA, when it first appeared on Earth, did not have a host. And it's exactly the same process, the same challenges applied to the DNA. It had to build a host because there were no host for itself. So the relationship is very simple. The DNA is the material, the entity that is keeping the host alive for its own benefit. That means everything that you see in life, every organism, is a product of the DNA that's living for the benefit of the survival of the DNA. Can you see how I've just flipped everything upside down? Whereas before we looked at the organism as a complete living thing, we study its behavior, etc., and its physiology. But in fact, according to the theory of biology, it's just a biological machine that's serving to house, to look after, and to help the DNA survive through the process of reproduction, proliferation, and to spread its copies across the globe. And the results are evident and obvious. We can see on Earth, in every nook and cranny, every niche, every habitat on Earth is now occupied by a copy of DNA in the form of a host. We are looking at the host. We are not looking at the actual product of the source of that host, which is the DNA. Now, the whole picture of biology has changed because of that. And it all started with the cerebral consciousness that we have, which only constitutes about 5% of our ability to control voluntarily ourselves and our physiology. And what's actually keeping us alive 95% of the time is an automatic system that stems from DNA. And the DNA is keeping every species alive for its own survival benefit. And I do hope that's made things a little easier and a little bit more understanding to what the theory of biology is all about. I'll leave you with one more thought before I go. Does that mean, therefore, that the DNA is aware and is conscious of itself at a molecular level? And if that's the case, We have going to enter a new realm of biology, of molecular consciousness. Thank you for joining me, and I look forward to seeing you again. Bye for now.